The internet is a beautiful place. There's definitely nothing disturbing or horrifying about it. With that in mind, let's explore some of its delights together. One of the internet's strangest mystery clips became known by a simple, unsettling name: blankroomsoup.avi. The video is short and almost aggressively plain. A man sits at a table in a blank white room, eating from a bowl with a large spoon. His eyes are blacked out. He appears distressed, although it is difficult to tell whether he is crying, laughing, acting, or reacting to something off camera. Around him stand two silent mascot-like figures, with oversized heads, blank eyes, and soft, cartoonish bodies. They do not explain themselves, they do not speak. At points, they touch his shoulder in a gesture that almost looks comforting, but in the context of the room, it feels completely wrong. For years, the internet filled the lack of facts with theories. Some people claimed the video came from the deep web. Others suggested the man was being forced to eat something horrific. The most extreme versions claimed the soup contained human remains, although there is no solid evidence for any of that. But that is how dark internet legends often work. A strange video appears with no context, and the absence of facts becomes a space where the worst possible explanations can grow. The first real thread came from a Daily Motion account called Ray TV. That account had other videos featuring the same characters, and even had the same clip uploaded under the title Freaky Soup Guy. Its description read, "A clip of people who look like us, doing something to someone that we would never do. We promise." That line did not end the mystery. It made it stranger. Eventually, the characters were traced back to Raymond Percy, an animator and performer with credits connected to major animation projects, including The Simpsons, Frozen, and Wreck-It Ralph. Percy explained that Ray was originally a performance art project he had created years earlier. The characters were not made for horror. They were designed as a way to express loneliness and isolation. They were figures that existed in the world but remained apart from it. According to Percy, the costumes were stolen after a performance in Hollywood. The group had been using a broken-down RV as a dressing room behind a club, and when they returned, most of the Ray props and suits were gone. A few weeks later, Percy received an email attachment. It was the video now known as Blank Room Soup. The strangest detail, he said, was that the figures moved exactly like Ray performers were trained to move. So the costumes were explained, the video was not. Who made it? And who was the man eating the soup? Was it staged, cruel, artistic, or something else entirely? All I really know is that I'm not having soup for lunch today. Michael Zanera was a 34-year-old railway worker from Vercelli in northern Italy. On August 30th, he and several colleagues were working overnight on a railway line near Brandizzo, on the outskirts of Turin. They were employees of the railway contractor Sigafer, carrying out maintenance work and replacing parts of the track. Michael posted a short video to TikTok. In it, he showed something unusual that had appeared while he was welding the rail. The light from the work had almost perfectly formed the shape of a glowing red cross. Michael was a devout Catholic, and he clearly read meaning into what he saw as a sign. The text on his post also said, "God definitely wants to tell me something." He added that it was the first time anything like that had happened to him while welding the rail. In another line, he said that he'd been calling to God every day lately because he had been struggling. At the time, it was just a personal post from a man trying to make sense of a difficult period in his life. But after what happened next, that video became something far heavier. Shortly before midnight, a train that was not in commercial service came through the work area at around 100 miles per hour. It struck the crew as they were working on the line. Michael lost his life alongside 4 colleagues. 2 other workers survived and were placed under medical observation, while the train driver was physically uninjured but left in shock. Italian authorities opened an investigation, with early questions focusing on whether there had been a communication failure. Michael believed that God was trying to tell him something. Others agree. It's just hard to decipher what the message would actually be. The internet is now left with one more piece of digital media that leaves us all wondering, what if? What if there is something more? What if this really was a sign? On January 25, 2008, 18-year-old Joshua Amirato appeared on a BMW M5 forum under the username American M5. He was new to the community, and he introduced himself by explaining that he had only recently started driving a high-performance car. His first post was technical, but in hindsight, deeply unsettling. He wrote, "Let me say I am beginner when it comes to high-performance cars, as I am only 18, so take it easy on me." Joshua said he was driving the car in M mode, with the power settings pushed high, and he wanted to know why the transmission seemed to bang into gear when he used the paddle shifters. Another forum member asked for more detail, and Joshua replied with the line that would later become central to the story. "Yeah, that is the problem. When I'm going pedal to the metal pushing 140 and upshifting, there tends to be thud noise with the gear change." He seemed to believe the sound might be normal, but the post revealed something more important. An 18-year-old with limited high-performance experience was already testing an extremely powerful car at very high speeds. Other users warned him. Some questioned whether his experience matched the machine he was driving. One pointed out that 2 years of driving experience might be part of the issue. Joshua pushed back, but he was not openly hostile. His final message on the forum was polite. He wrote, "Thanks guys, don't get me wrong, I never said I didn't respect your wisdom," before adding, "I'm looking forward to getting to know you guys better." Then came the final line, "And I plan to have all the pics up tomorrow." There would be no tomorrow update. In the early hours of January 26th, Joshua was driving his father's 2008 BMW M5 at the Jumbo Lair Aviation Estates in Anthony, Florida. With 4 friends in the car, he went down the private airstrip. At the end of the runway, the BMW left the pavement, went airborne and struck trees. Joshua, Isaac Rubin, James Devonheim, Jacob James Casey, and Dustin Smiley Dorr all lost their lives. We saw warnings arriving in real time, but if warnings are ignored, then they don't mean much. The University of Cosmic Intelligence did not begin in a compound or behind locked gates, or in some isolated religious community. It grew in the open through phones, live streams, TikTok clips, YouTube videos, and the kind of online rabbit holes that can make extreme ideas feel strangely normal if someone watches long enough. At the center of it was Rashad Jamal, also known online as Divine Insight. He presented himself not just as a spiritual teacher, but as a divine figure sent to Earth to raise the planet's frequency. His teachings mix New Age spirituality, Afrocentric ideas, conspiracy theories, off-grid living, polygamy, and sovereign citizen-style beliefs. To his followers, this was not just content for them to simply consume, but instead it all combined to create a new worldview. And for some of them, it appears to have become a complete replacement for ordinary life. That is what makes this case fit so clearly into a video like this. It shows how a person can sit alone with a screen and slowly be pulled into a closed belief system, one video at a time. The language can sound spiritual. The imagery can look peaceful. Meditation, crystals, sun worship, nature, freedom from government control. But beneath that surface, the message reportedly pushed followers toward isolation, distrust, and the idea that normal laws and family concerns no longer applied to them. Jamal himself was later convicted in Georgia of serious offenses involving a non-adult and sentenced to 18 years in prison, followed by 22 years of probation. But even after that conviction, some followers continued to support him, treating his imprisonment as proof that powerful forces were trying to silence him. This shows how the belief system could defend itself and how facts and reality don't seem to apply to a cult leader. Evidence against the cult leader could simply be absorbed into the conspiracy, even strengthening their cause. The movement drew wider attention after several followers were connected to disturbing criminal cases and disappearances. In January of 2022, 23-year-old Damian Washam, described as a follower of Jamal, attacked members of his own family in Alabama. His mother's time on this earth ended, and his brother and uncle were injured. His father later said Damien had started watching Jamal's videos only weeks before, and that his behavior had changed suddenly. Months later, in August of 2022, Yasmin Hyder and Crystal Pinkins were arrested after an encounter in Alabama involving University of Central Florida student Adam Simji and his girlfriend Michaela Paulus. The couple had stopped because Hyder appeared to need help with a car. Instead, the situation became a robbery attempt. Adam's time on this earth ended after an exchange of gunfire. Authorities later found Pinkins at an off-grid camp in the forest. Then came the disappearance of 6 people from the St. Louis area, 4 adults and 2 young children. Relatives said the group had become increasingly isolated, quit jobs, cut off family, and embraced Jamal's teachings before vanishing in August of 2023. The University of Cosmic Intelligence is not just a story about one online figure. It is a story about what can happen when the internet becomes someone's teacher, community, religion, and reality all at once. Wink, wink.
To make sure that it's authentic, or you take the dentures and you make sure they're with them, so that way the person knows who this person is. All right, because sometimes you go and you risk you're looking for somebody, all right, and somebody might be paying some serious money for it, so you have to make sure it's the real thing.
Grave robbing for morons is one of those pieces of internet history that feels almost impossible to place. It looks like a crude homemade VHS from the late 80s or early 90s, showing a young man, usually referred to as Anthony, speaking directly to the camera while holding what appears to be a human skull. He gives a rambling explanation of how someone might dig up graves, remove bones and sell them, all with the awkward confidence of someone making something they probably never expected the wider world to see. The footage later appeared on a compilation called Ensuring Your Place in Hell Vol.2, a strange collection of unrelated underground home videos. I mention that detail because one of the other films in the set was later identified as a parody made by Huck Botko, a filmmaker who went on to write The Last Exorcism. Because of that, some viewers believe that grave robbing for morons may also be staged. But that connection does not prove anything, because the videos appear to have been gathered together after the fact, rather than created as one project. The central question is whether Anthony was acting, exaggerating, or genuinely describing something he had done. Some viewers point to the realistic skull, the accuracy of certain details, and visible marks on his face and knuckles as reasons to take the tape seriously. Others see it as an edgy underground prank, possibly influenced by horror punk, shock videos, and the wider satanic panic atmosphere of the time. Over the years, several leads have been raised. One was Anthony Casamassima, a cemetery worker who reportedly confessed to a long-running grave-robbing spree, but the age difference makes that connection doubtful.
This was made by Anthony. Well, as a matter of fact, let's forget the last name.
You can see why people thought he was going to say Anthony Casamassima here, but again, is it just acting? Or maybe even purposefully blurring the lines between reality and fiction? Another was Craig A. Bradley, though the name and appearance do not clearly match. A more interesting lead involves someone Anthony calls Poochie, which some believe may have been Bucci, possibly linking the tape to indie horror filmmaker Christopher Bucci, but even that would not fully solve the mystery. No confirmed follow-up tape has surfaced, no Vol.1 has been widely verified, and no one has conclusively identified Anthony. So grave robbing for morons remains suspended between evidence, performance, and underground folklore. The evil stick looked at first glance like the kind of strange discount toy most people would walk past without thinking, or maybe even something you might pick up for your kid to keep them happy while you make your way around the store. It was a bright plastic princess-style wand, sold among dolls, tiaras, and children's accessories. But behind the shiny foil flower at the top of the toy, some versions concealed something, well, something not good. The toy became widely known in November 2014 after Dayton, Ohio mother Nicole Allen bought one for her 2-year-old daughter at a dollar store in Kettering. When the foil was removed, It revealed a disturbing edited image of a young girl with glowing red eyes holding a sharp kitchen tool. The wand also played a harsh cackling laugh when activated, making the discovery feel even more out of place. The evil stick is strange enough, possibly evil enough, that it now has many homes on the internet. It's a weird online phenomenon, and it seems like it will never go away. The contrast between the packaging, the bright colors, and then the hidden image, unsettling. The store owner Amar Mustafa said the toy was clearly named Evil Stick and argued that parents should inspect items before buying them. But the toy's placement beside ordinary children's products made the case difficult to dismiss. Later evidence suggested the Evil Stick had been circulating for years before the 2014 reports, with photographs allegedly showing similar toys in a New York dollar store as early as 2008. Other versions contained completely different images, suggesting a bizarre, poorly controlled production line rather than a single isolated mistake. The image inside showed the woman committing an act upon herself. So how and why would this ever have been marketed and sold to kids? One of the strangest corners of the Japanese internet is a website usually known as Dana Shine, which roughly translates to something like Die Husband. At first glance, it almost sounds like a dark joke, a place where frustrated wives could anonymously vent about unhappy marriages, lazy partners, abusive relationships, suffocating domestic lives, and years of resentment that had nowhere else to go. But the deeper people looked, the less funny it became. The site became known online as a kind of real-life death note. Women would post anonymous messages describing why they wished their husbands would disappear from their lives forever. Some posts were bleakly comedic. Some were bitter. Some sounded like desperate cries from women trapped in marriages they felt they could not leave. And others crossed into something much colder, describing imagined accidents, sudden illnesses, or darker fantasies about how a husband's life might end. What makes the site so unsettling is not simply the existence of violent thoughts. People say awful things online every day. What makes Dana Shine disturbing is the scale of it. It turned private resentment into a public ritual. Here are some excerpts from the website. Every time he falls asleep, I pray it's for good. I hope he gets heart disease and dies. His death can't come fast enough. I just hope it's painful. I gave him curry for dinner and thought about how easy it would be to keep stirring if he stopped breathing. He snores so loudly that I looked up whether noise can kill you. It said no, but I am undeterred. I kept looking anyway. There's an overpass near my home. I spend each minute of the day wishing I were brave enough to push him off it. It's the only way I'll find peace in this lifetime. Okay. Normal. I like to imagine these husbands being absolutely oblivious to their wives' thoughts. Like they go home after work saying, "Hello, sweetie," and she is fantasizing about his funeral. The site was a place where strangers could gather, read each other's hatred, get validation for it, add to it, and transform it into a kind of community. In Japan, where social pressure, family expectations, and divorce stigma can make unhappy marriages feel impossible to escape, the website seemed to expose something hidden beneath the surface. Behind the polite exterior of everyday life, there were thousands of people quietly fantasizing about freedom in the darkest possible terms. And the site did not remain an obscure internet oddity. It became popular enough that posts from it were collected into a physical book called Husband Death Note. That is the part that makes it feel less like a forum and more like a cultural artifact, a record of domestic misery, a confession booth, a warning sign. Because Dana Shine is arguably about what happens when people feel so trapped, unheard, and resentful that the internet becomes the only place they can say what they are really thinking, no matter how bad those thoughts truly are. Thank you so much for watching. I'm uploading daily true crime and dark content here on this channel, so make sure that you're subscribed, hit like on the video, and also drop a comment so you get shown more of my stuff. Please do be careful out there, and I'll see you tomorrow.